Hello, this is my video essay on gender roles and Gothic tensions in the novel Dracula. So, Dracula is often seen as a horror story, but beneath all the blood and fog lies something even more haunting, a society terrified of the shifting gender roles. Bram Stoker's Dracula, published in 1897, follows Jonathan Harker on a journey to meet a client in Transylvania. What begins as a business trip quickly becomes a nightmare of terror, and Dracula's evil spreads beyond borders, threatening England itself. The characters battle not only a vampire, but also changing ideas of masculinity and femininity. Victorian society expected men to be strong and in control, and women to be quiet and pure, but in the novel reveals these cracks in the roles and shows how both men and women respond to fear and power in unexpected ways. This video explores how Dracula critiques Victorian gender roles and expresses anxieties about control, sexuality, and social change. Dracula shows that Victorian gender roles were weak and unstable. Stoker portrays men breaking down under pressure while women gain new kinds of power that make the society angry. The book is not just about vampires, instead it is about control, fear, and even the tension of change. Victorian men were supposed to be brave and strong, but the novel shows how fragile their power really is. Jonathan Harker starts as a confident character, but soon becomes a prisoner in Dracula's castle, showing how men can sometimes lose control. When Lucy becomes ill, the male doctors try to save her, but fail in the process. Their pride is a mask, hiding their weakness, and Dracula exposes the limits of their masculinity. Stoker writes, "As she looked, her eyes blazed with unholy light, and the face became wreathed with a voluptuous smile." Page 192. This description of Lucy as a vampire combines fear with a sexual power that unsettles the man and shows their loss of control. The novel shows deep fear of women who are in different traditional roles. Lucy begins as an innocent and sweet, but after Dracula bites her, she becomes dangerous and sexualized. The men are terrified and end up destroying her undead body. The three vampire brides also show this fear as they seduce and scare Jonathan, demonstrating female power that the society back then wanted to suppress. Christopher Kraft explains that these vampires frighten because they confuse gender boundaries, and in this initiation scene, Dracula compels Mina into the pleasure of vampiric appetite and introduces her to a world where gender distinctions collapse and where male and female bodily fluids intermingle terribly. Page 125. So while the men fall apart, Mina grows stronger, and she keeps detailed records, solves clues, and even remains brave after Dracula attacks her. Stoker writes that Mina has a man's brain, and this suggests that her intelligence changes some of the old ideas about women. Men begin to rely on her leadership, and Mina represents the new woman, being smart, capable, and quietly powerful. Yet she still works to preserve the old social order by helping to defeat Dracula. Her power is not very strong, but it is still very real, and it makes others uncomfortable. Some claim that Dracula is simply a horror story meant to scare with blood and monsters, but the novel also shows some deep anxieties about social and gender change that were present in the late Victorian era. And Dracula is more than a monster, as he threatens the world as it was known. The horror is rooted in fear of instability, especially about gender roles. Neil Cox writes, "Dracula alone reproduces his form," meaning Dracula can create new vampires, but female vampires cannot, and this breaks traditional gender expectations and also confuses ideas about who holds the power. So in conclusion, Dracula is more than a vampire story, as it reflects many societal roles that have been imposed on men and women over time. And men are protectors, but shown to be vulnerable, and women are shown as being pure but feared when being powerful or sexual. And though it is over a century old, Dracula's fears about control and gender still shine today. And many questions still remain today, like who has the power, who lives in the fear, and some of these questions still continue to haunt us as they haunt the novel today. And here is my works cited page.